Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tony's podcast, episode 79. And I'm really excited to have Melissa Simonson on here. I've been a big fan. And Melissa, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
You know what? For people that don't know you, please tell us about your background and so we can get up to speed.
Oh, my goodness. How far back do you want me to go? I was born in
far back as you feel comfortable.
So I guess my first experience with e-commerce was back when I was 15. I used to do listing changes and updates for the first online flooring store, Steve Simonson's online flooring store. And so I actually flew up to Seattle in the summers to help with that business. And this is back in the day, right? This is way back when you had to have a whole basement full of programmers in order to manage your listings and to change your website and stuff. There was no easy fix for popping up a Shopify store and then you're good to go within an afternoon. This was, weeks and weeks and tens of thousands of dollars in, and then you have a product listed on a website. And so that's my first taste of e-commerce. And I think Steve had his first shopping cart sale with that company in 1998. And so that was my first experience with e-commerce. My entrepreneurial journey really started when I was really at a low point in my life. I had gotten pregnant, I got laid off from my job, and we got really, really behind financially until finally our power got turned off.
Wow.
And I had sort of been relying on my partner to come to the rescue a little bit, carry the torch because I couldn't get hired. People knew I was pregnant and that I was going to have a baby, and they just didn't want to hire someone and then have them go on leave within a few weeks. And so that was a really difficult time. And when I saw that my partner at the time was not going to be able to come to the rescue, so to speak, I realized I was going to have to be my own hero. So I took the $30 that we had in our account. I bought some cleaning supplies and I posted an ad on Craigslist. Crossed my fingers I didn't get axe murdered. And I did my first service-based job with my cleaning business. And I actually did that successfully for about 5 years. And that was my first taste of like owning my own business and stuff like that. And it was certainly born out of necessity. I don't know that I would have had the courage to do it if I hadn't needed it so bad that there was no lose at that point.
Wow.
So from there, it's been up and down ever since. I got back into e-commerce when Steve approached me about the Empowery e-commerce Cooperative. That's such a passion of mine. It's such a beautiful thing to add to the world that I feel very lucky and very privileged to be part of it. And the day-to-day operations and the future vision and everything. I feel very fortunate.
That's amazing. So tell us about the Empowery Foundation and what it aims to promote and how things are going.
Yeah, so Empowery is a nonprofit member-owned cooperative. And there's a few reasons why we formed it that way. So as everybody knows, in e-commerce, there's a lot of voices and a lot of experts. And there's a lot of gurus and there's a lot of coaches, and it's very difficult to know who to trust. It's really hard to know which voice you should be listening to and which voice is just being the loudest or has the best marketing. You know what I mean? I met with somebody today who had the misfortune of purchasing courses from one of the well-known, not so gurus, and spent thousands of dollars on the course and coaching, and is out all of this money and really is worse off for it. And so, this is part of the reason why we formed this co-op. So one of the benefits that we wanted to make sure that we provided is having a vetted list of strategic partners where people know this is the lighthouse. If I have a question, if I have a need, I can go to Empowery, the lighthouse in the rough seas of entrepreneurship, to find out what my answer is to this question, who I should be talking to about it. And also we've pre-negotiated discounts, perks, cashback, so that when you are doing business with them, you're using the leverage and the power of many instead of just one individual entrepreneur. And the other thing that goes with that is our service providers, now that they've been vetted, we've negotiated, they also have a vested interest in making sure that every experience with every single customer through Empowery is treated very, very well. And that's because if something goes wrong with one customer, the relationship with Empowery as a whole and all of the customers that reside within the co-op are at stake. And so there's a very, very high white glove VIP service level that comes with that. And to be honest, because of the way we vet our service providers, most of them have that white glove approach for all of their customers anyway. We like doing business with the best of the best, and that's how we choose our people. So we formed it as a nonprofit in order to say, here's what we're about, here's what we stand for, here's how we can help you, and here's how you know you can trust what we're saying. Because we're not benefiting from this, we're passing it on to you guys. So 49% or less of what comes into the co-op covers overhead, admin fees, our hard costs. 51% or more of what comes into the co-op is rebated back to the members based on their spending with our partners. So when a member does business with a partner, that's when everybody's winning. That's a three-way win, because it means we're succeeding as a co-op in connecting people who have a pain point with a solution provider. It means that we, the solution providers, the service guys, are winning because they're getting referrals. And it means that the members are finding the answers that they need. So it's a three-way win. There's many more benefits. I could go on and on. I'm pretty passionate about it.
How many members do you have currently right now?
So actually, this is an interesting question. When we initially started the co-op, and here's one more, let me just go off tangent a little bit. One distinction I want to make clear to everybody is that this is an actual cooperative. So there's a legal entity type that's a cooperative. There's some other places that call themselves cooperatives. They're really collectives. They're a group of businesses that want to do business together and share information and leads and things like that. And that's a positive thing always. But we are an actual cooperative, which means that we have legal and financial obligations to our members to have that the dividends that we pay to our shareholders. Mm-hmm. So that was a bit of a side note I wanted to make sure that I mentioned. But for membership, what we did when we initially started was we wanted to make sure that we were offering something of high value. So instead of pursuing membership and getting a ton of people into the cooperative and then not having a ton to offer them or a network in place, we decided to go the other route. So we started to network with service providers. We started to make contacts and find solutions and vet out all of these resources. And we have done, in my humble opinion, a spectacular job of that. We're super connected with all of the, with many of the very important people in e-commerce that can help people be successful. And so, we really have made that into a painstaking process of vetting, mm-hmm. because it felt like if we started with the membership, it would be putting the chicken before the egg, so to speak. If we started with membership first, I feel like there wouldn't have been a ton of value to offer the members. And so it is now actually a couple years in that we are turning our attention to membership and really pushing to say, hey, we've got something great here, and I think that you all should be involved. So right now, I think we have about maybe just over 200 members total. And we have about 70 to 80 partners. So partners and members combined, maybe 300-ish. And I would say we probably have, just with who we have now, there's probably at least 40 countries represented there. It's international, we're all over the world. And very excited to be kicking things off this year. This year is going to be one of explosive growth.
Wow, it's great to see that. You've got a great energy level to you right now. So I was going to ask you, like I'm based in Canada. Are people who are based outside the United States able to take advantage of some of these features with the partners as well?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. But one of the things is most people, wherever they're based out of, most people are at least on Amazon US. So sometimes they're also in Canada, sometimes also Mexico, sometimes they're in selling in the UK or the big five in the EU, but that's usually in addition to selling in the US. So, we have members who are in Canada, partners who are in Canada. We have members who are in Israel, Mexico, Ireland. Today, it's funny, we did a Clubhouse room today, and the people on stage were members and partners of Empowery. We had the US represented, we had Ireland, Israel, Pakistan, and India. It was pretty spectacular room.
Wow, the UN.
Yeah, it really was.
That's amazing. It's amazing. Now that we're actually on to this topic I was going to bring up anyways, what are your thoughts on Clubhouse? What are the pros, the disadvantages? What are you thinking at this initial stage?
You know, I steered clear of Clubhouse at first. You know, there's a lot of people talking about it on Facebook, and I was like, you know, I'm not a huge fan of social media to begin with, and I already have to do kind of a lot of upkeep. And I just don't have a ton of extra time. You know, I have two boys, 7 and 9 years old. I've got, you know, running the co-op. I've got my own business. So there's a lot to handle, and I wasn't sure that I wanted to add another social media platform to that, to be honest. But I did get an invite from Regina Peterbergsky. Thank you, Regina. She was actually a speaker at the Empowery Women's Conference, and she hosts the Women on Amazon podcast. She's a good friend and someone I admire greatly. So she extended an invite, and I was like, oh, okay, that's great. And that was actually on Christmas Eve. So so Christmas Eve came and went, and then like it was after the holidays, and it was like the next week, just before New Year's, that I started to get into it and kind of look at it and see there's actually quite a bit of potential here. There's some very positive value I can find here. And at first I just was listening. I wanted to hear, you know, what kinds of information was being offered, learn from the people who were on the stages, and see what Clubhouse was about. And then it transitioned into, you know, like, how do we, let's figure this out. Let's all get into a room together and figure out how to push the mute button and how to pull people onto the stage and how do we form a club. So I think it was just before New Year's that I put in a request for our Empowery e-commerce cooperative club. And so now that has been approved. And since that time of like, oh, I wonder if this is going to be good. I mean, it's all the time. I'm on Clubhouse all the time. And there's so much value to be gained there from listening, and also from speaking. There's I mean, there's just a ton of potential there for people who are looking to generate leads, for people who need their questions answered. Right now, it's a very giving place. I don't know that that's going to last forever. I think that right now, it's really going crazy, and that the people who are offering their time, they're doing it like all the time, and it's crazy. And I don't think it can last, because it's not, you can't scale that. It's live. You can't use it as reusable content unless you're making sure that everyone has agreed to be recorded. So that part of it makes it so that it's, again, it's not something that you can just do. Your time is limited. So I think that, you know, right now it's a very powerful thing that people can use to get the questions answered, to develop a following or an audience, or be part of a community. You know, I think it's a very powerful thing.
Yeah, there was a bit of drama. I don't know if you follow JT at all.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I heard about that.
The rooms yesterday, and you know, the crowd can turn very quickly.
Yeah, you know, the trouble I found with that was, you know, I actually was not in the room where the drama was taking place. I'm very glad about that. I would not have remained for that. I'm not a big fan of the drama. But what was disappointing was that when I was in other rooms that had, you know, good topics and positive, you know, information being offered and high value, having him come into the room, then other people wanted to revisit that topic again. And I found that very disappointing, because then I just had to exit those rooms, because I knew we're just talking about, you know, arguments again. And the thing with that type of argument is that people just want to be heard. There's actually no solution to be found. So I don't want to listen to people whining.
Perfect example I use, and I don't know if you watch Shark Tank, because I'm a Shark Tank groupie, is like the shtick you get from Kevin O'Leary. He's that Mr. Wonderful, tell it as it is, right? Versus, say, everybody wants to do a deal with Mark Cuban. You know what I mean? And they'll take Mr. Wonderful at the end, like there's really nobody else around. And, you know, it's like, I think we all need to be professional and just be mindful of our thoughts and our words as well. 'Cause sometimes people can take it the wrong way.
Yeah, I mean, you know, obviously, just given what everyone knows about me, that's not my style. I'm incredibly inclusive because I know that sometimes things can be misinterpreted, and you just don't know what's going on in somebody else's mind. I also know that it's our habit as people to think, you know, like we're all the star of our own show. So if somebody does something, our immediate thought is it's probably because I said this or because I did that or something like that. And you internalize it and you put yourself in the center of it, even if whatever actually happened was because they were busy or they just weren't thinking. That's the most likely cause. We tend to put more on ourselves than really belongs there. And so I try to compensate for that because I know that's what people are doing and I don't want them to have to do that. And to, you know, have him, I don't judge him at all for his style.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what is a good takeaway from this is that your vibe attracts your tribe. What you put out is going to both attract and repel people. And so the style that you use is going to draw the people that want that to you, and the people who don't like that should be repelled, because what he's doing well, by the way, is branding, his personal branding. He's done it very well. He has the type of people that he wants to deal with, and the people who don't want to deal with him, he's getting plenty of news media coverage, you know, all that kind of stuff from it. So,
Were you familiar with Grant Cardone before Clubhouse?
yes.
Okay, because like it's the same thing. I was exposed to him for the first time, and he's he's doing a great job. You know.
Yeah. There's mixed reviews on him as well.
Well, that's the thing.
I won't go into it.
I don't agree with everything that they say, but at the same time, you know, you like I really respect that work ethic that can be really a role model for so many people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of the things that they're all doing fairly well is they're giving freely of their time right now on Clubhouse. I think that where they're ruffling some feathers is, you know, I think it's easy in that situation and in that position of power to make people feel discarded, you know, and not valued. And, you know, that's absolutely, if there's one person in my life that I feel like left a situation with me feeling like that, I can't let that go. I literally cannot let that go. So I don't know that I vibe well with that personality type, but certainly there's a lot of incredible information and value that they are giving for free, which again, it's an incredible thing that's happening right now.
Let's move on to Amazon. Like you're in touch with some of the brightest minds, and what are you hearing right now? What are the changes that are taking place? What are the things that we should be concerned about?
So actually, one of the things that I think is on a lot of people's minds, or should be, let's say that, what should be on a lot of people's minds is, you know, compliance. Actually, this is not the fun ninja hacks that people like to hear about or talk about, but this is back to basics, doing good business, and, you know, sort of preventive maintenance. If you have not up to this point been super concerned with compliance, it's going to be more and more important going forward. You know, for liability insurance, general insurance, you know, your clearances and certificates and stuff like that, you know, especially given different fields, and with Brexit, there's a ton of different new compliance things that are being put into place. And up to this point, Amazon has not been super on it when requiring proof of insurance and, you know, proof of compliance. And that's something that's coming back to them. And so now they're going to be requiring that. There's no specific date. Technically, we're all supposed to be doing it already. I think it's going to be something that people need to start paying attention to. We actually found a resource for Empowery at the end of last year, because this was clearly something that was going to be changing the tides a little bit. And so we have somebody that we can point people to that knows all the things, like all the things, a whole team of people that's like, depending on what your product is, you know, here's everything that you need to know and be compliant with.
Wow, that's great. I mean, just to give you an example, 2 years ago, I added Amazon over to our insurance policy to make sure that we were compliant. And and even in Canada, it wasn't required like the US. And my philosophy has always been better to be proactive than reactive.
Yeah, I can list off a ton of stories of people, one thing goes wrong. Like, so we have a story where somebody, I can't remember, somebody got hurt or something like that. And they didn't have insurance because they didn't want to pay that $150 or $300 or whatever it was a month to have that coverage. And it ended up costing them like $60,000 or something.
Wow.
That's quite a price to pay for not being proactive. There's another story with this compliance stuff where their factory, so they were not doing inspections, which is not a great thing. And I know there's a lot of people who are not doing this actively, but again, with the increased compliance, I think that it's going to be more and more important. So they weren't doing inspections, and the factory had changed the zipper in their product, and the lead amount in the zipper was like crazy over the limit, like way over the limit. And so it was seized, and so then they were dealing with customs and having their products, again, this is like an $80,000 shipment that is now stopped at the border. They can't replenish at Amazon. And so they're trying to deal with it. So our compliance guy was involved with this, and he's worked for like government, and he actually works with the sellers to go to that, to the big scary guys and say, wait, instead of seizing this, how about we replace all the zippers, and actually will help to mitigate that so that it's a much less, a much lower cost instead of the actual like cost that they're out, the $80,000 plus the cost of the profits that they would have earned from that. And then the time lost as well. Like there's so much at stake there for people to not want to pay for those inspections.
Well, let me ask you this though. In the middle of like, if I was a seller or a potential seller, how would I even know to ask my vendor to know the quality, the amount of lead in the zipper? Like that's, for some people that would be, if you're not experienced, and like, is there any way around those kind of issues?
No.
Like we're just totally dependent on.
There's no easy answer there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to be doing some research and know, like it takes some experience. There's different areas in China where there's particular problems. There's a certain area where wood is a big problem. There's, I recently found out that hand sanitizers in Mexico are a big problem right now with the toxic materials in those. There's specific areas where there's particular things that are an issue. And this is something that you get familiar with over time. I think that the only way that you can become familiar with these, besides experience, is being part of a community and asking questions and not being afraid to not know things. This is why Empowery exists, by the way. We know that there are a lot of things that people don't know about product sourcing, about negotiating with your factories, about the types of things you need to be in compliance with, and the kinds of certificates that you need. So anything that touches the skin, it has to have a particular code when it's going through customs, so that they know that it has this certificate, so everything is in compliance. That's something that you'll find out, especially if you didn't do it ahead of time. And it's honestly, one of the things that's good is your freight forwarder, if you've chosen a good one, typically they will help you find what you need to know about that. They're not going to ship it until they know that it's going to be received on the other side, because they're worried that they're not going to get paid, or that that's going to cause issues on there. And so a lot of times you'll be able to find this information from your freight forwarder. But this is why we have so many solution providers in place, because these are questions that you don't know to ask until you come across the problem. So
like, if anybody's interested, how would they contact you and get a hold of Empowery?
So anyone can go to empowery.com/contact and just ask anything. The team is happy to jump in and help with any kind of question. You can also get started as a member to enjoy the discounts, the perks, the cashback, the increased leverage at bit.ly/join-empowery, all lowercase. And that's, there's two membership types. One is sort of a starter level, and that's between $0 and $1 million a year in revenue. Shareholding members must qualify by having reached that $1 million or more per year in revenue mark. And we do that because we want to make sure that the content we're offering, the type of help and service providers that we're offering for each membership level is applicable to them.
Right. So then they pay a percentage of their sales, or how does it work?
Oh, no, your business is your business. We all work together, help each other.
Right.
We're putting together a mentorship program this year. So we'll have some group discussion and ability to become a mentor, as you're, reaching different stages, and have some peer-to-peer discussion, and also have a mentor that you can look to if you have questions.
Perfect. Thank you for coming on the podcast. Perfect.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just stopped there right now, but